Greetings shipmates, welcome to another episode of Let's Make Mistakes. Today we'll be looking at the Tier 6 British CV HMS Furious. What a fantastic name for a carrier. Unfortunately, the name may make you feel like that during certain points of gameplay as well, but we're going to look at those in closer detail over the course of this game. Now, I had played a few games with the Furious, and she's a comfortable CV to play. She's got excellent torpedoes. However, what we're going to see during the course of this video is that the rockets and the dive bombers are a little bit questionable. They seem to be very, very RNG based, or more so than they are on the Ryujo and the Ranger, which we'll look at in further detail in port. So as we can see, we've got, we're on favourable matchmaking, so we are on Tier 6 matchmaking for this game, so we are playing against ships of our tier counterparts. There are a couple of Tier 5s in there as well, so there's a good opportunity to compare how they're managing at their own tier. So I've taken off with the rocket planes to begin with while we go and have a search around, see if we can get an early spot on some of these DDs that are in the game to either harass them by keeping them away from the caps, or if they've got their AA on, then we will look to get some rocket attacks on them and see if we can get some early damage. This was either the second or third game I played, so I was aware from some of the earlier games where I had hit some stationary DDs that we weren't getting the damage numbers we were looking for. So let's see where we end up in this game. Now, we have spotted the Gazillionaire there, but we haven't spotted a DD yet, and we've gone quite far past A, so we're going to have a little drive over to B now. And just have a quick flyby here, see if we can spot anything else for our team. Because we do have the Gnevny who's moving towards the Bravadoh cap, and we have the Farragut who's moving towards the Alpha cap as well. So we're off to a promising start. Our DDs are actively chasing the objectives, and we have managed to find the Icarus. So I'm going to have a little fly over here. I did try to get a rocket run in, as you can see there, the reticle's quite wide for 495 damage and 1 penetration. Now, that's important later on, is how much damage we did for that 1 penetration. So we were lucky to land anything on that DD. It wasn't a good tight reticle that you get from turning in early, planning your run in advance, and not moving the mouse or moving the aircraft, manoeuvring the aircraft squadron too much. You do manage to get better hits and a nice tight grouping. But, it's a start. We've spotted 7 of their ships. We've managed to hit one, and he's now turning away from the objective. So we've had an encouraging start to the game. Now I'm flying back over here to help the Farragut because I can see he's in trouble from these dive bombers. So we then request the availability of his smoke screen to see what one he's dropped, but it doesn't appear so, because the one that was dropped off to his right, I think that was from the Leander earlier. So try and help him out a little bit. We've got the rockets, we're going to go and have a strike at this Gazillionaire. So we start the run early, the reticle comes nice and tight, we're aiming right on the nose, see if we can get a fire. And we do get a fire, we get 4 penetrations, 5 non-penetrations, 1 fire, but only 1500 damage for 4 penetrations. That doesn't seem right, does it really? So we're going to go around again, we're going to have another run and see what we can do. Unfortunately, we have lost the Farragut, who has managed to suicide and throw his life away. We managed to get them off there. We get 1 fire, and we managed to get 800 damage, 4 penetrations off that rocket run. So we're down a DD. Gazillionaire's burning for a little while now, because obviously we got the 1 fire on him. And yeah. Not sure why they did that twice, but never mind. So we're going to carry on with the game and see what we get next. We've taken off now with the dive bombers, knowing the Gazillionaire was beached in that island. I wanted to go over there and see if we could get a hit on him nice and early. Hatsihara's just taken down our Gnevny in the middle cap, so we need to get this objective secure, get rid of this Gazillionaire. Now the Farragut's turned up over here, and the Gazillionaire is turned and moving away. This won't be a perfect rocket run because we need to go around and come right. So he's not in a great position here, but that doesn't mean we can't try. So we're going to try and predict where he's going. It is a bit of an angle. Aim across the front. 1 penetration with a dive bomb, and 0 damage has been achieved. Nada zip. Jack and Diddley. I'm going to fly back over now, just see if we can keep an eye on this Farragut, just to help the keep him spotted so they can finish him off. We are under heavy AA fire though, but the Farragut does go down. Objective secured. We've got one dive bomber available, so we're going to circle back round again now and have a look at this buy-in. We might not get this rocket run, this dive run in, but we're going to try. Up she comes, looking good. Damage counter says 6451 before the drop. We've landed that for 2,700. So that's not bad, and we did get a fire off of it. But it was only one that's managed to land out of 6 that were dropped again. But we did get that fire, and that's what's going to give us a little bit of tick damage. Now he has put the fire straight out. Now we're going to go and have a look with Torpedo Bombers, because he's pushing into that objective. We didn't have enough dive bombers left on deck at the time, so off we go with the Torpedo Bombers. Our Torpedo Bombers are not too bad. So there's that smoke from the Leander there, that's slowly disappearing now, and we're going to start our first torpedo run of the game. Now, because we have the acceleration on, we can run and get nice and close, drop them a little bit on the nose, and we probably wanted to drop just a little bit further ahead. Now the only reason I haven't swung the camera back round, we did get 2 hits, was because I was just looking for flak, so I needed to look forwards. But with the Gazillionaire not moving now, we just see his engine started as he saw me coming. We're going to go and have a run. That should be 2 away, and those ones we can follow. What do we get? We get 2 and we get a flood, and we managed to destroy him as well. So good damage from the torpedoes. That was made possible by the Gazillionaire, of course, starting his engines late. So we were able to get that, but we probably need a little bit more lead normally if he was moving. So with our 1 dive bomber left, I'm trying to get this on the nose so we can try and get the flood on the nose of the buy-in, because from our first round we didn't get it, but there we go, we do have the flood, and now his damage is going to start ticking for a little bit, because he was probably still on cooldown from the repair from when we set him on fire a little earlier. Now back onto our rockets. Let's go and have another look and see if we can find one of these DDs harassing around the middle. So we know the Icarus and the Hatsuhara are there. The Bine's taking care of the Normandy, but from having all the objectives, we're now losing all the objectives. That's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, I'm afraid. But what we were getting at this was good information about what we can do with these rocket attacks and the dive bombers, and they're going to become more prevalent later on in the video. Now we've spotted the Icarus. Not moving around too much here. I'm predicting his course. Going to fire just in front of him there. 1 penetration for 495 damage. So now I want to give a side-on attack to this Hatsuhara. Because his EA guns are running, I'm able to spot him, turn, predict his course, keep that reticle nice and tight. 4 penetrations, 1 incapacitation, minimal damage again. But the Mexico is able to finish him off. But again, the rockets are underwhelming. So we're going to try one more here. So we see he's got 842 health. He's going to disappear into his smoke. But we're going to predict where he is. And we do manage to take that last bit of health off of him with 2 penetrations. So that was a bit of predictive play. But again, the damage attack from 1 rocket hitting a DD is very, very low. Now I appreciate that they're harder to hit. And that's better. It really is. That you can now dodge and manoeuvre around a DD. You can avoid some of the hits. But as we've seen there, we're getting full penetrations and we're getting very, very little damage and reward back for it. And it is harder to hit with the rockets than it was. So the reward strategy should surely be based on if you do manage to hit them, you should still be able to do a reasonable amount of damage. And from what we've seen so far, that's just not happening. So we're off with our Torpedo Bombers again now. Because we know this Julio Cesar was over here now. I was trying to help this Dallas because we had taken the Alpha Cap back. And while we are taking Bravo, I want to try and help the Dallas out with the Cesari, who's quite a quick battleship. So we do dive. We get into our dive nice and early. We're going to come under AA fire again. This is obviously still the Tier 5 Julio Cesari. That's another conversation for another day. Now, what we haven't quite taken into account, I don't think, was the speed that Cesari moves at. But we do just about manage to get 2 torpedoes into her, and we have caused a flood, which, as we can see from our damage counter, is now not ticking anymore, that she's immediately put out. So we're going to turn back over again. We're going to have another run. This one's going to be a little bit close because we are high over the mountain, so you can see how much higher we are than our lead above. And that's not a particularly good drop from me. I'm not sure. Do we hit? We do. We're not going to get the flood, probably because the repair was most likely still running from the last run. If not, then you know, it just is what it is. We didn't get the flood. We've still got 2 on board, so we're going to come round and we're going to have another look and see if we can try again this time. Lead a little bit more off the nose. Again, a little bit more lead would have been better. And then I've gone back to the CV. I haven't hung around to have a watch, but we do see 2 torpedoes have hit her. Again, decent amounts of damage. We haven't got the flood out of it. So now I'm aware of the fact that we've lost our battleship below Alpha. We have taken Bravo back. We have the Leander, who's hanging around in his smoke. So I'm going to try and spot so he can do some damage. And I need to stop this New Mexico's push around because he's coming towards my CV hull, which I haven't moved during this game because we were close enough to inflict damage to both these caps, and if we did, we'd be running away now. So here we go with our dive bombers. So I'm trying to get around the front so I can get this, because the British ones, they line up differently. There we go, we're up and away. 62.7 reading now. That's not a bad drop for 2 penetrations. 2,300 damage though. That's it. You'd think they'd be doing a little bit more for penetration damages. These are supposed to be the bread and butter of your damage, hitting these and being rewarded for it. So we're going to go and have another go. Lead a little bit further off his bow. We get 1 penetration there for basically nothing. Nothing at all. Mildly frustrating. Now, could we line up better? Maybe, maybe not. But you know, we got the reticle smack bang in the middle of the ship where he's leading. The rockets are released. I know they're a cluster, they're a carpet. There's a chance of hitting a lower. But again, we'll have another go here, straight down the middle. That's lined up lovely. 1,500 damage for 1 penetration and 1 non-penetration. It's just not enough damage. It's not enough damage. Not when these are supposed to be your key damage dealers for big battleships, because the torpedoes just won't be, and rockets are completely negated against a battleship's armour anyway. I mean, you can get the fires, but you're not going to get the damage you need. And now this New Mexico is just going to keep coming. We have lost our ships over there. The Cesare, I've had to come and deal with this Mexico threat. I can't go back over here now, so I have to deal with this New Mexico. I'm running down the right hand side of him, but I've gone to have a quick look in here. This may have been a misplay, really, was to try and stop this, try and stop the cap being lost. Really, I didn't really have the right aircraft for this, but we gave it a try, and we have got the Nuremberg in here now. And actually, they're going to get straight in between those torpedoes, so I'm just going to swing around the planes, and then we're going to try again. I am keeping both the battleship and the cruiser spotted at the moment for the Leander, who's still in smoke, so you should be able to dish out damage without too many problems. Well, at least by not being spotted yet anyway. Again, we've not given enough lead there, and the Nuremberg has managed to turn and avoided the torpedoes. Because he's turning away from me in the Leander, I've immediately gone off to go for the New Mexico instead, because he's now got to negotiate that island before he becomes a problem again. So we can get a few more torpedoes out on the New Mexico. They're in. We get, see, we're at 3,127 twice. Now I've taken off with Torpedo Bombers because we were looking to go and strike the Mexico and finish him off, but he has gone down anyway. And now I'm going to start moving my hull towards Alpha, because I'm probably going to need to try and cap this. But we need to get rid of this Nuremberg. And the Cesare, from his last known position, he's probably going to be heading towards Bravo soon. But we're going to try some rocket attacks, just some dive bomber attacks again to finish off. Now that's on his nose. Leading in front, we get 1 fire. 3 penetrations. Slightly better damage than we were getting before. But, you know, that wasn't a favourable angle compared to what we was dropping on the battleships on. So good news is we can turn back round, we can have another go at this. Lead off the nose, that's not too bad. And we've got 2,300 for 2 penetrations. I can't help but think those numbers should be probably about double what they are realistically, but they're just not. And this is what we're working with. Most of our damage that's sitting up there has come from floods and has come from torpedo damage and not from dive bombers. not from these clusters, and certainly not from our rockets either. We go around again, we have another go. 776 damage, 776 with 2 penetrations. This is getting frustrating. It really, really is. You know, think with the amount of effort that's going in by now, this guy should be long gone down. Now, I can see he's 6 kilometres away. I'm expecting he's probably dropped some torpedoes off as well, because the ones from the right hand side are out in the Leander. These are rocket attack now. I thought this would probably work. So we got reasonable groupings, nice and shallow, off his nose. 2,448 damage for 9 penetrations. That's better. That's what we should be seeing. But it's a bit too infrequent. Let's have a turn around. We're going to have another go, because we do need to get rid of this Nuremberg. She's pretty close to us. I mean, the game's ticking away. Yeah, it's not going to end well, quite clearly. The rest of the team has now evaporated at this point. So we go for a lateral run. 992 damage this time for 4 penetrations and 1 non-pen. It just doesn't seem to be the right correlation of the amount of damage from penetration to the damage numbers that are coming in. We go again. I mean, I know it's better going into the superstructure, but we got 4 penetrations before, so we hit the same amount of rockets, and there we've done 773 for 2 rockets penetrations as well. So we are hitting, we're just not getting the numbers. I mean, it is variable as to where you hit, but it's all superstructure hits to that Nuremberg, and it's just not happening. I hear the warning going off. I haven't really got time to worry about it, to be honest. I mean, the game's pretty much over. I'm just throwing the last of the utility out just to see if we can actually do anything else. Now, we are going to again score with a torpedo, secure our 3rd kill. A couple of planes have been shot down. So torpedoes, I think, are working well. The damage isn't massive. You know, there's a number of hits to a number of ships, and we've got 13 over the course of this game, so we've had to work hard for the numbers as well. Now I'm going to go and have a look. Obviously the Cesar's, she's going through B, so she's clearly on the way to A. They know I'm over here anyway. Chances of doing anything with this game are very, very low. We could have maybe stopped the CV behind the island there, but with 3 minutes on the clock, we're 300 points behind. Even if I was to have killed the Cesari and taken the cap, we weren't going to get over to Bravadoh in time anyway. So the game's done. It's just a case of seeing what we can finish off with. So again, our little friend in the Cesari is going to take some attacks from the torpedo. She turns in towards them. Now we do get the flood, 3,500 damage again, which is good damage. We are capping as well, which is a bonus, and we're going to go and have another run again around the nose. But time is ticking. And this is going to come to an end very shortly. Obviously, we're under heavy fire. We did get another torpedo hit. We did attempt to have another go with our dive bombers, but we never really had a chance. Not in the position we were in towards the end of this game now. There we go. We detected again. We're going to get this run in. She's turned in, so it's not going to be a fantastic strike, but we got 911 damage with 1 penetration and 1 non-penetration again. Swing around as the end. Her guns are already facing me. I know this game's going to be over very, very shortly. We'll just keep going until the end. Now we're going to get a slightly more favourable run off her. Lead the nose. And we got nothing and non-penetration there. Now I think it was a carpet bomb. Something else maybe should have hit. It just didn't. And there we go. This game is coming very, very swiftly towards its conclusion now. One more run down. I think this was probably our last one in this game. You can see a couple in. We've got 1,100 damage. 1,100 damage for 2 penetrations that time. Now, considering the amount of time and ordnance we've dispensed on this Cesari, you'd have thought she'd have been in a lot worse state than she was. But she's not. She's still alive, and that is the end of the game. So a quick look at the score sheet before we go and have a look at the CVs in port. So as the score sheet comes up, it was a defeat, but we did manage to contribute somewhat. We got 97,000 damage, 15 torpedo hits, 23 target hits, 37 rocket attacks, caused 5 fires and 4 floods for a a combined 5361 and 431 free XP. We managed to finish top of the tree as well. We took down 3 of them boats as we saw there and 17 aircraft to give us a base of 1289, which isn't too bad. Like we said, it was all, as we can see again there, it was all tier 6 matchmaking as well, so we were all at the same tier. What's interesting here is bombs released 23, 18,000 damage. Torpedoes 15 for 55,000 damage, and our rockets 37 for 10,400 for only 26 aircraft lost. So that's a lot of rockets. And then as we can see on our credits and XP, our credit making potential wasn't too bad. We come home with a profit of 353,000 and a good amount of command XP as well, thanks to camo on board. Utility wise, not bad. So let's take a look at the Furious in port, and then we'll compare it to the same tier ships of the Ryujo and the Ranger at tier 6 and see what those differences are. I thought I'd start off by showing you the carrier and the configuration we just played. So we have fully upgraded her, and then on our upgrade path we are running the Air Group Modification 1. This will speed up the group of returning aircraft back to the carrier. Then we've got Aircraft Engines 1 to increase our boost time. Attack modification. I've extended the attack time for the rocket runners because when I was trying it before, when you turn, that reticle doesn't tighten up quickly enough and manoeuvres around a lot more. So what this does, it allows you more time to turn in, start your attack run a little bit earlier, and then hopefully you find the target you want to hit in time if they've got their AA off. So that extra 2 seconds can be very, very useful. And then on the same note of it, because I tend to find I was spending more time hunting aircraft and hunting destroyers down and other ships with the attack aircraft, I've increased their HP. Even though they've got a really generous HP pool, the more I could boost that, the longer we could stay on the objectives. And if we couldn't at least hit them, we could maybe stay close enough to spot them for our teammates to attack them. The captain build I began with, he's a 14-point captain at the moment. So we have gone with air supremacy, so we can accelerate the servicing time and get the aircraft back into the air as quick as possible. We then went for torpedo acceleration because you drop them really short, but they are quite slow, so it does need that acceleration, especially if you're trying to hit cruisers, because they tend to manoeuvre a lot quicker than battleships do. I further buffed the survivability of the aircraft as well to give them even more health points, which, you know, again, it does the same thing. It allows them to take more damage and stay in the fight and spotting a lot longer for your team. We've then gone for site stabilisation. So again, that's the same thing that we've used before, but it does help when you're manoeuvring the aircraft around to keep the reticle stable on the target before you make the run. And on this one, we've gone for concealment expert. Next up, I'll probably take for the next 5 points, probably go around, improve the engines to move them a little bit quicker, and then for the final 3 points, aircraft armour as a basic build. Now what I'll do is, to compare this, I'm going to take the captain off so we can actually look at the CV's mono a mono, as to speak, because this is where things started to get interesting. And as we saw, our damage wasn't great in the the dive bomber attacks. Now I do have the Barracudas equipped on board, and we can see they've got a pretty large health pool, but the maximum damage, bomb damage, we can spit out there is 4,700 if a bomb hits. If one bomb hits. So over the course of our run, we've got 6 bombs that we were able to drop. We should be able to do 28,200 damage, assuming RNG allows all 6 to hit, which is unlikely, I'll accept it, but where we were seeing those penetrations, we weren't getting anything like that. We were lucky if we got 4,700. Whereas if they were all achievably able to hit at 28,200 damage and you managed to get all 4 flights, your potential damage is 112,800. But they're not hitting anything. So it's cool. I think it probably still needs to be looked at. Whereas on other videos, if we were to look at the Ranger next, with the same bombing style, the up and down as their Japanese bombers use, the damage output is more. These are supposed to be your bread and butter for your damage. So again, I mean, we look there, the HE dive bombers here, maximum damage we can inflict is 9,200. So on a run, we could potentially drop 27,600 damage, and over the entire squadron's run, a potential of 80,200 damage, which is lower than the potential for the Furious. but the numbers are more realistic. You can drop and you'll normally get one bomb on, maybe two, and you're going to get those like 9,000 damage hits, and we're just not getting them with a Furious. And then to compare that to the Ryujo as well, again captains off, so these are all the base stats. We are seeing the same thing here for the dive bombers. I mean, these are AP dive bombers, so why their maximum damage is lower, because they've got the potential to penetrate and hit the citadels, it's a lot greater, and that does happen a lot more often with these. So even on one run, 6100 with 2 damage, even if you don't get a citadel, you should be looking at around 12,200 damage, with a potential across the entire squadron without citadel hits of 36,300 damage, which is significantly different from the way that the Furious is working at the moment. I think that's probably a balancing issue. I think the dive bombers are a bit too RNG based at the moment. Maybe it just needs to be a little bit of a tweak, but the reticle where we got the things squared up, you could see the hits and we could see the amount of penetration damage we got, and we weren't getting those numbers at all, and that was on same tier ships. I did have a couple of games, and one of them was a higher tier game. I didn't bother using it because it just wasn't any point at all. It didn't really do much at all. You couldn't get near. You could get near, but when you tried to drop, it just didn't seem to hit anything, and when it did, it was just non-penetrations or such low numbers again. The rocket attacks, I mean, they're the similar kind of thing between do they hit or don't they. Again, it feels to me, but when I play the Ranger and the Ryujo at the same tier against other DD targets, that the damage output is just a little bit better. I mean, we were seeing like 900 and 500 damages there, and the potential there is for a 1500 for one rocket hitting, so I'm not sure that needs to be looked at still. There's still some balancing issues there. It's still early days. She is available to play, so I would suggest go and play, but the rockets aren't great, the dive bombers aren't great. The torpedoes, they were bloody excellent. If you land the torpedoes, they seem to do a lot of damage. The floods are not infrequent, they're reasonable. If you can connect them, then you can do a decent amount of damage for your troubles as well. So that was the Furious Tier 6. It's an 801 patch, so we are completely up to date. I will do the next round of CVs when I actually earn the thing. I'm a little way off of getting her at the moment, so I will leave it there, and thank you very much. So please do like and subscribe and comment below if there's anything you'd like to add to the video or think we should look at in the future, and until we sync again, I've been Captain Bravadoh.